We know that they were invaders. Of course, during the initial period of invasion, we know they kept themselves separate. But was there a period when, after, I don't know, maybe a few hundred years, where these divisions became relaxed and they began to integrate with the rest of the population and develop an identity as Egyptians rather than I'm, you know, Greek or Roman or whatever and you're Egyptian?
No, in fact, during the Greek period, the Greeks were the high class and we were inferior. During the Romans, the Romans were higher class and we were inferior. Then when the Arabs conquered Egypt, they came under the flag of religion. And in Islam, you're all equal. So that was one of the basics. That's why at that time, you can say that Egyptians started to an extent to mix with the Arabs. This sort of mixing was more in the north than in the south. That's why if you see the people in the south, they are purer race than the north people. The Christians in the south, they are 100% pure Egyptian blood than the north people. So the north, when they mixed with the Arabs, gradually, when the Arabs decided that the Arabic language should be the official language of Egypt, that was the time when we started gradually to lose the ancient Egyptian language, which was spoken till that time, which was considered like the language people use in all their documentaries also, in all their documents. But this was called at that time, or this was referred to at that time as the Coptic language. The Coptic language is the ancient Egyptian language but written in Greek letters. Okay, so gradually we started to adopt the Arabic language, and also because they came with a new religion that we adopted, so we started to imitate the way they were. We started to adopt some of their civilization, mixing civilization and religion together. We did not really know what comes from civilization and what comes from religion.
I see. The question that a lot of people have when we talk about mixture is like, well, what did the Egyptian people look like? What did they look like in the ancient times? What did they look like during the times of the Greeks and the Romans? And even, you know, what did they look like? Can you really put the Egyptian people in one category in terms of physical appearance?
They were always different in colors. Like the South Egyptians were always darker. They always have that curly hair. The North Egyptians always had straight hair and fair skin. So they were always different in colors. But these people that you see in the Egyptian Museum are not very different from what you see down in the streets of Cairo. They look exactly the same. Sometimes you are struck by someone, oh, I saw this face somewhere in the Egyptian Museum. I saw him on a tomb. So they were always like that. They did not change suddenly.
You know, I find it interesting because exactly what you're saying is what I experienced. I mean, I've got people like around me that I'm looking at. I mean, I don't want to like turn and show them because I think it's kind of rude to stick a camera in a stranger's face just to make a point. But, you know, like this young man behind me, it's like, you know, if we go into the museum, we'll see him on a lot of the statues, a lot of the monuments. And what I notice from looking at the monuments is that I do not see one physical type. I see a variety of faces, features. So for example, I see statues and paintings that are very fair in complexion. I see other statues and paintings that are obviously more of an African look. And I think that's what people have to really understand about Egypt, you know, looking at where it's located geographically and not trying to expect that it should conform to some notion of what they think Africa should look like. You know, it's like all the people here, they are all Egyptian, whether they're fair-skinned or dark-skinned. I mean, they've been here for God knows how many hundreds of thousands of years. You know, it's their identity is rooted in this place, in this geographical area. They don't have a concept of themselves as being from somewhere else, which, you know, once again brings us to the topic that a lot of people have about who are the Egyptian people today. You know, like when I was growing up in school, what we were told was that, you know, the people that actually, what I was told specifically was that the race of the ancient Egyptians, they all died out. That this was an extinct race, and that the people living here today are Arabs who came into the country. What is your opinion on this?
You know, the people that live in a fluvial civilization, like on the two banks of rivers, these breed very quickly. They are like big number. So if you compare the number or the population of Egypt, which is 80 million nowadays, to the population of Saudi Arabia, which is like 25 million or 20 million. So could these replace us by any means? Could they produce this big number of people? So of course I don't believe so. Like, no, it's not correct.
Very interesting point, you know, that you make. When you have an invasion, it's usually a small military force that comes into the country and takes over. It's very rare that you see large-scale
like the
migration.
Anglo-Saxons when they conquered England. No, it's not the same.
So in other words, what you're telling me is that yes, the Arabs did invade, they did conquer, but you're saying that there was no large-scale migration like what we had in the United States, for example, with the Europeans who colonized and came in great numbers and settled there. So you're saying that there was no migration of large numbers of people coming from Arabia and settling in Egypt.
No, they were not that big number compared
So
to a large number compared to the number of the Egyptians.
So there was some mixing, there was some migration, but not to the point that it displaced the population. What do you say to claims that some people have made that when the Arabs came into Egypt that they massacred the native population of Egyptians that were here and replaced them with Arabs? Is that true, or is that another historical myth?
No, this did not happen at all. This country was a very rich country with its agricultural resources. So don't tell me that Bedouins will come from the Arab Peninsula to replace all these Egyptians here in the Nile Valley. And how many were they to massacre this big number or this large number of people? And of course they came under a flag of religion, as I told you. They came to spread religion, so don't tell me they are going to massacre us and then we will adopt this religion, because Egypt saved saved Islam during the Middle Ages when we stood against the Mongol invasion and the Crusaders. So of course, who did that? It was us.
Okay, so then, you know, these claims that when the Arabs came in, that the native Egyptian population fled to other areas.
Where to?
Oh, to other places in Africa, maybe further south. So there was no large-scale exodus.
In fact, the Egyptians, they surrender, but they don't escape. It's like, I surrender because I want to stay here in my greenland. You see, the country is very flat.
Yes.
So you cannot escape and go anywhere. They will get you soon. That's why we say that Egyptians are to an extent passive, because they know that we cannot escape, so you have to surrender to keep